Okay, Jan and Erika, can you come on camera and come off mute? Whew. We gotta applaud for being able to get on camera and get off mute. I mean, that's an accomplishment.
That is an accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment. Yes. It is a pleasure to have you both on this session of Entrepreneurship Matters. You are two amazing women who are running amazing businesses and are an inspiration to me. And so I know that everybody that is watching you on Facebook or in the Zoom room is going to be inspired as well. Let me set us up and then we're going to launch right into a discussion between us.
Okay.
This new series, Entrepreneurship Matters, is a conversation with a local up-and-coming and an established entrepreneur. What we know is that successful entrepreneurs, like successful businesses, are not built overnight. It takes undiluted passion, multiple failures, a lot of grit, and a long-term commitment to make it happen. While we are in COVID, we know that it has impacted our community greatly, but it has also impacted entrepreneurs. And so one of our amazing young people on our anchor strategy Workgroup at Johns Hopkins came up with this concept, Entrepreneurship Matters, to really uplift entrepreneurs during this difficult time. And so it is our pleasure her name's Camry Moses, so I always say her name on here. So I think it's important to give credit where credit is due, but also to just ensure that we, make sure we uplifting our youth, because great ideas come from all segments of our community, including our youth. I know both of you, and both of you have amazing businesses. We're going to talk through those businesses. We're going to have a candid conversation. It's just you and me and everybody watching. But let me give your bios because I think they're impressive, and then we'll launch right in. So Erika Jernigan is the founder of Lexi's Little Bug. She has an amazing background, over 15 years experience in customer service with large organizations like Capital One. She's been an independent contractor for rideshare companies for the past 3 years. And Lexi's Little Bug was founded in 2016. This is interesting. I'm going to steal this little bit of thunder, but we're going to go deep into this, Erika.
Okay.
Driving to work, Erika, who herself does not have any children, started thinking of ways that she could help parents who did not have any other options to get their children home for school or off to activities. So what about a kids transportation service, she thought. And in that moment, Lexi's Little Bug was born. Also, we have Jan Peters, who is a tried and true entrepreneur, business owner with Higher Ground, which provides quality customer transportation in executive vans, private coaches, and shuttle services. She has almost 25 years of experience managing systems and people to ensure customer satisfaction and excellent service. When asked sort of what drives Jan, she really responded in one way, and that's the value of legal legacy for her children and positively touching the lives of so many that do the same. And so it is an honor to have both of you on this session and to talk through with you about your businesses and your background and your journeys. And I want to lift this up and be very explicit about this. I want us to focus on how we can support your businesses. You are valuable parts of our community. Your businesses are valuable part of the fabric of our community. And so I'm lifting that up very explicitly to see how we can be supportive and how those who are watching and observing can be supportive of your businesses. So why don't we just launch right in? Let me ask the question. What inspired both of you to be entrepreneurs? I tried to steal some of your thunder, Erika, but I'm going to toss it to Jan and then I'm going to give it to you. What inspired you to go into entrepreneurship?
I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. I remember in my early career, I started being an entrepreneur through consulting. I didn't really even know what consulting was, but I had a colleague who was doing some work for Harvard University, and that was enough for me to figure it out. So I started out, being a consultant, and then a friend of mine and we started a wedding events planning business where we specialized in balloon decoration, which was like new at that time. And so I've always, kind of had this spirit of entrepreneurship. And then I had a friend who had a transportation service, and she actually was moving out of Maryland. And we talked about me purchasing her business, but then we talked about us, going into business together. And so, my friends and family were looking at me like, so what do you know about about transportation? And I was like, well, this is, I have a mentor who always says, Jane, you're smart. And because you're smart, you can figure out how to do the process, and you can get the subject matter. So that's what I was thinking. I can learn the subject matter of being a transportation owner. It was more difficult than I thought it was, and it was way more information than I thought I had to consume. But I figured it out, and I've been in business now for almost 14 years.
Wow. So learning, we're going to come back to that, learning the business, because
learning the business, being baptized by fire. Yes.
Yeah. We've had many of the entrepreneurs that have been on in prior sessions talk about knowing how to conduct a business and then learning the substantive business. So we're going to come back to that in our conversation.
Okay.
What inspired you?
So at the time, I was working at Capital One for about 4 years at the time. And I was doing customer service. I've always worked in customer service, in hospitality for Marriott. Then I was doing Uber and Lyft in the rideshare space. And one day, like many businesses, you have to make a change and shift, or, change schedules, which impacts employees. So one of the girls on my team, she was greatly impacted. She was, constantly at work upset, trying to decide how was she going to get her kids back and forth because of the schedule that they had shifted her to. Basically, they did a complete flip from a morning schedule to a night schedule. And she had 3 kids in school and no support. So one day, in trying to figure out how I could help her, I started searching for services to help her get her kids back and forth. And when I realized that there really wasn't many outside of being attached to a daycare center, one day driving to work, it was just like, why isn't there a children's transportation service? And from that moment, I just started researching the business, and I formed Lexi's Little Bug, because at that time I already knew now rideshare, but I just didn't know the business side of it, or having the experience of being able to learn how to actually start and function a business. So that's how I got started.
Yeah, let's leap from there, and I'm gonna stay with you for a moment. Can you take us through the steps that you went through to start your business?
Sure.
What was like the first 5 things you did to start your business?
So the first 5 was actually looking up the laws and the legal requirements for the state of Maryland when it came to transportation in general. Then I looked up how to actually build my logo and what legal things I needed to protect the business. So that way, if something was to happen, no one could come in and copyright infringement and different things like that. And then I I also did a deeper dive into what parents were actually needing. So I went on Google and I started searching, kind of what the missed spots of like childcare and their needs around school. And then from there, I went and filed my license with the state of Maryland. So that way I would be able to obtain the business license to run it. And looked up the insurance, which is like major. That was important.
Yes. And in all businesses, insurance is major, but when you're transporting people, that's a whole different ballgame. How about you, Jen? How did you go from talking to your friend about transportation business to launching into being an owner?
So I'm going to step back 1 second before I answer that question and say
Sure.
that it did not work out between me and my friend.
Oh, okay, all right.
So,
That's it.
but by
We
then
might not get,
I was
that might be another show. That might be
right. That's a whole nother show.
that's a
Right.
whole
That's a
nother
whole
show.
nother
That's a
show.
whole nother.
Exactly. But I'm just the kind of person that I lean all the way in when I'm doing something, and so I was not going to let this transportation elephant go. So
Yes.
the first thing I did was contact a friend of mine whose husband was an attorney. So we incorporated Higher Ground Transportation Services. I got an EIN number. I got a business bank account. And I'm saying this because what I've learned in this pandemic and talking to other small businesses is that when you're a small business, you have to treat yourself as if you're a business. So these are just like the basic things that you need to do in relationship to having a business bank account so that you're not mixing your personal finances with your business finances. Just like Erika said, then researched and found that to be official, I needed to be registered as a for-hire company with the Maryland Public Service Commission. So I did that. Then you have to then also register your vehicles. You have to have at least one vehicle to register with the Maryland Public Service Commission. And the importance of that is that you're then regulated, and then you have clout, and people take you seriously because the regulations around the Public Service Commission is that you have to have your vehicles inspected every year. You have to, do certain due diligence as it relates to ensuring safety. And so, and you can tell a transportation company that is registered by its tags, because only the Public Service Commission can authorize a certain tag. So when I see people with the logo and they don't have a B or P tag, I'm thinking the people who ride with them should understand that that's what they should be looking for. And then Erika also made a great point about insurance. Insurance was really the bane of my existence because I have buses and vans, and in the state of Maryland, you can't register vehicles, commercial vehicles at different levels. So when I say that, I mean like buses have to, of course, be insured at a higher level than vans. So at one point I was insuring all my vehicles at the same level, and that was very costly. And then I just asked around to people that were in the transportation business, what insurance agent do you use? Because at that time I was thinking, okay, this is it for me. If I can't find different insurance, then I can't do this. And so I found a great broker, and he made a very astute recommendation. He said, why don't you form another company and put your vans under one company and put your buses under the other company? That way you can insure your vans at a different, at the appropriate rate, not at the bus rate. And that's what I did. So I actually have two companies, Higher Ground Transportation and Ride Higher Ground Transportation, just because of the insurance regulations in the state of Maryland.
You both have just dropped so many gems. I'm going to number them.
Okay.
So everybody that's tuning in can take them down. First, it's funny that I'm a lawyer, so my heart did pit when you said you started with a lawyer. And you both looked up the legal requirements, especially if you're going into a regulated industry,
right?
A lawyer by your side. The second is about business bank account, conducting yourself as a business, not commingling your personal funds with your business funds. The third was about branding. Erika talked about building a logo, protecting your business, making sure that no one could take Lexi's Little Bug and go off and create Lexi Little Bug 2.
Right.
Growing your business. Excellent. 3, researching what the needs and the gaps were in the community, right? So you're going in, doing with young people. Jan, you talked about researching the regulation, the Public Service Commission. And then I thought what was interesting, I want to go deeper into this around setting up multiple businesses, because the model, which was one business, which many people think one business, one entity, you found that 2 entities was how you needed to operate your business in order for it to function. Can you talk, and let me say this because I see questions already coming in on the chat and I know they're coming in on Facebook. People can also text their questions in to 22333, type JHUWL when you get in there. And you can also put them in the chat as well as on Facebook, and I'll receive all of them. Let me ask you this. When you were embarking upon your businesses, what were some of the challenges you faced? Sort of, if you knew then what you know now. That's my if you know then what you know now question. What would you do differently? What were some of the things? What advice would you give to folks who are thinking about going in, and lessons learned for you? Jen, why don't you start?
I think that, you can probably get this in any book that's talking about entrepreneurship 101. But for me, it really is identifying the right team. And in my business, not just the right drivers, but I'm talking about a full team. So identifying someone who understands how accounting, a CPA. And some people will say, well, wow, a CPA is so expensive. I just can't do that right now, but you can't afford not to. Even when you talk about how you establish your business with the IRS and what how you're going to incorporate. Are you going to incorporate as a LLC? Are you going to take on the S designation, or the C designation? And so that may all sound like alphabet soup, but you have to teach yourself or get someone to train you on what those things mean and what are the tax advantages as it relates to your business, and then determine what your tax designation will be. That was really important for me. In the beginning, I just kind of thought, well, I'll just get a bookkeeper and they'll just keep the books. But that did not work for me, because I'm the kind of person that it's not enough for you to just tell me or show me that it's done. I want to understand that it's done. So I don't necessarily have to be the CPA. I have a CPA, I have a bookkeeper, but when they send me those reports, when I look at the P&L and the cash flow statement and the balance sheet, I want to understand what it means, so that then I can ask questions. Every month, my CPA probably gets sick of me because I ask questions like, what does this mean? Why did you classify this way? And how does this help me? Especially during this pandemic, I have worn him out. So I would definitely say identifying the right team, and then also making sure in our industry, and I'm sure Erika would agree with this, is the insurance. The insurance is crazy. There are not a lot of companies that insure commercial vehicles. As simple as that. So they can almost charge you what they want to charge you. And so I'm bracing myself after this pandemic to see what my renewals are going to be, because I know they're going to increase the insurance, and the insurance is already astronomical. So in addition to insuring the vehicles, we also have to have general liability insurance. I have, employees, workers' comp, unemployment insurance, and people don't sometimes understand that those are insurances. And so you have to pay those things for your employees. And so those are expenses that you then need to then take into consideration when you're developing your pricing. And not to belabor the point, but the pricing piece is so important as well, because you have to be confident within your pricing. And when people try to talk you down or try to get it at a lower price, you know what you're worth. You know the quality of the service that you're delivering. And once you figure what your number is, for you to not only deliver that service, but to make a profit. We're in business. This is not a charity. I've worked in charitable organizations for years as well. This is a business, and I need to make a profit. And this is going to be interesting coming out of this pandemic to see how that all rolls out. And, not considering gouging people or anything like that, but just really creating a price point that works for them and works for my company.
Very good. Couple of things. I'm gonna summarize it after Erika talked.
Okay. She done said it all. She done hit all the points. So no, I mean, I completely agree with everything that Jan is saying. You could tell the experience is there. And I'm definitely honored to be a part of the conversation, because a lot of what Jan is saying is true, and it's what I've been learning along this process of building my service. And, you know, just in the 2 years that we've been up and running full-time servicing families in Maryland and Baltimore, I know one of the biggest lessons I learned very quickly was letting go of an idea or a process and what I thought of what it was supposed to be and look like, and actually paying attention and listening to what my customers are saying, or even the little things that they weren't saying, because that's where it keeps them coming back and renewing their contracts or referring to their friends and family.
Give me an example. Can you say an example of something where you where someone an entrepreneur on here, or someone starting their business may say, how can I listen with that ear towards adapting my business? What can you give us an example of what you did?
So I sent out monthly surveys. So every single month I sent out an actual newsletter that goes to my clients, just them directly, and they would come in and they would send their comments in the survey. Some of them would say exactly who they are. Sometimes in having a conversation, I could just be talking to my customer about picking her daughter up at, you know, a different timing, or the school's process. And if it was something that I could tell, knowing her schedule and knowing the different, you know, processes that her job goes through, and then knowing what the school process is, it's like, okay, the school doesn't know her process, but I know it. So it's actually paying attention to put those two together, because one time I had to actually get to the school. I think the school, you can't get into the school building between 2 and 2:30. So there's a 30-minute window that no child is able to come in and out. So I adjusted my day that day to get to the school even earlier, before the 2 o'clock time frame. I mean, she would have had to come out like an hour early, but I did that because there was no way that the timing was going to match up, and then her mom couldn't get her, and it was on my off day. So, you know, it was just working through all of, you know, my clients, you know, basically like all of her needs and the child's needs at the school, and trying to fit that in. And at the end of that conversation that day, like, she kept thanking me for actually taking the time to figure it out for her, and she not having to be at work trying to figure it out, or the school, you know, trying to call her a million times to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I mean, I think both of you talk about these pivot points, right? Listening to your customers, making sure you're in tune with them. Jana, and what you said about listening to what's said and what's not said, I think, Erika, is so important. Jan, you just dropped real gems, amazing gems about the team. And I know in our pre-call, we talked a lot about this team and the desire to have an amazing team. And that team not just be who is employed by you, W-2, but or 1099, who is employed by you in terms of contracts. So your CPA, legal team, your insurance team, your IRS team, making sure you're talking through the business form of what type of business are you going to be, and I know we're seeing questions right now. I'm getting all the questions in the chat. So I'm seeing the questions about how do you make those distinctions? How do you make those choices? Before we start launching into those questions, let me ask you a couple of questions, and this is where we're going to get into, I don't know Oprah or Jeff Bezos. One day I will, but now I don't know them. But if they just happen to be Entrepreneurship Matters, and listening to you, and I know that this time has hit both of your businesses hard. Yes. Can you talk us through that? So other entrepreneurs who are sitting in your same seat, feeling sometimes low, sometimes bewildered, can you talk us through that, and also talk to those individuals that could be supportive of your business? How can we support you during this time? I'll start with you, Jan, and then go to Erika.
So Alicia, when we had our pre-call, I started talking about the day of, but I could call it doomsday, but I'm optimistic. I'm not going to call it that. But March 23rd, when I got the last call from my last contractor to say that they were going to suspend services, and then you're an attorney, so they slapped force majeure on me.
Force majeure. That's the word.
Right, force majeure. We can stop this contract. And so for those who who have never heard that term, for the most part, it means an act of God. And so this pandemic was an act of God. I know I got a contract with you, but sorry, and so that was not only because my business stopped and my vehicles were garage for the most part, but that was also the day I had to lay off my last employee, my last driver. And so that was really emotional for me, because one of the things, if you ask me like, what is one of your greatest joys of being in business, it is that I am able to employ people. Yeah. And that's important to me. And I'm able to employ people that look like me. So I primarily am hiring Black and brown sisters and brothers, and people that have families, people that have obligations. And because of higher ground transportation, they're able then to have livelihood. They're able to have income, and so that's important to me. So when that day came, the first thing I did was I prayed. I mean, hard, and asked God, what is we gonna do, because it's hard and I don't know what to do. And so I started just immediately going after everything COVID relief could, the state, the city. I live in Prince George's County, the federal government, everything. And I will tell you, the thing that helped me out the most, and the way that I was most successful in getting those funds, is that I already had done my taxes. And so many people delay doing their taxes. Corporate taxes are due March 15, not April 15. And I learned that the hard way too, because I had a bad bookkeeper who didn't tell me that. And then I had to pay an interest and penalty for filing late the first year I did that. But I had my taxes done, and almost every application you filled out, they want to have your P&L and balance sheet, and that's part of your corporate tax return. And so again, and I said this before to other small business owners, is that you have to have your house in order. You have to be able to do the things that you're expected to do as a business if you're going to run. Now, if you're just going to have a hobby because you like to ride people around, that's different. But if you're going to actually have a business, then you need to treat it like a business. And so that's was very important to me. But to get back to your question, our vehicles have been down since March. I got my first call, I think last week, for someone asking me for a quote for something. And I almost did the Toyota kick, because I was like, oh my God, somebody.
I know that kick. It's a high one. It's a high one.
So I just want to say that for peace of mind, we've done a lot of research and implementing policies around the cleanliness of our vehicles, sanitizing our vehicles. We've even put up what's called sneeze guards, which is really plexiglass in our vehicles. We also have trained our drivers, because I was able to bring them back because of the PPP. So during that time, we didn't have any driving work, but I just—
Which bank did you get your PPP through?
I got my PPP through M&T, and I had a business bank account with M&T, and so that's why.
That's great. That's great.
M&T Bank, and so I just was very fortunate to be able to do that with them. And then just been looking at other things. We've even created an ebook that we can use for, drivers when they come back, just to remind them. And I'm hoping that other transportation companies may hire us to come in and train their drivers, since we've done all this research and have all this material available. But if someone like Oprah or Jeff Bezos was listening—
They're listening. They are listening.
I would say that, what my company needs, what I think the transportation my company, my transportation company needs is just, we need business. And I've enrolled in a master class. I have a coach now. And one of the things we talk about all the time is pivoting. And so what else can I do with these 10 vehicles except let them sit on my lot? And, there are fixed costs and there are costs that are adjustable. Lease payments and insurance payments, they're fixed. So whether I move my vehicle or not, they're still due. Now, I'm not buying any fuel, but the other things are still there. So, I was thinking that if I could have a contact at Amazon, I understand that they're looking to purchase the buildings that JCPenney's and Sears were in, excuse me, as last mile delivery options without having an Amazon business. I have vehicles that could do that kind of work. We can do delivery work. We can do other things that, we can make sure that there's physical distancing on some of our vehicles. Now, you won't be able to be at capacity, but we can do that because we have shuttle buses. We have shuttle buses that seat from 24 to 32 people. We have talked to a couple of hospitals who were interested in having us transport their patients to appointments, but appointments now mostly are done by telehealth, but dialysis can't be done by telehealth. So those people are still being transported to the dialysis centers. So when you think about healthcare and you think about, the delivery and packaging, and even I've even considered maybe I could wrap my vehicles and advertise for somebody. I'd be willing to do that. I have 2 beautiful black Sprinters and they would be lovely wrapped. So, I'm open to suggestions as long as it starts to generate income for my company.
Yeah, you talked about, thank you for sharing and being open and honest, Jan. There are people on here that needed the word that you just preached in many ways about how you are thinking through and processing through. I think there are a couple of big nuggets that you talked about. One, the pivot point, right? The two, your thought process is like out of this world, like wrapping your vans to advertise. Or getting hooked up with Amazon. I sure hope someone at Amazon is watching, or just thinking through transport in a different way. And then also being a consultant to other businesses, other transportation businesses that are thinking about safety and sanitation. Huge nuggets of how you're using this class this time wisely. I've already seen a couple of questions about some of the things that you talked about, the master class and others. So we're going to dig deep in those in just a second. Erika, what would you say? How would you, Oprah, Jeff Bezos? I'll give you another one. Let me see. Let me get somebody else. Robert Smith is on. Robert Smith is watching too. What would you say?
Lady Gaga, I'll take it from
Lady Gaga, Beyonce, everybody's watching. So what would you say? How people, but also, just Joe Schmo, Alicia Wilsons are on here. So what can we do? How can we be supportive of your businesses?
So for Lexi's Little Bug, right now it definitely was greatly impacted because of COVID, because schools are shut down. The need for children being able to get from point A to point B is nowhere near what the need was before. It's almost non-existent. I had took the initiative and started from the beginning and canceling my clients' contracts from the beginning, because I didn't even want that pressure on my shoulders or that experience on my clients to have to deal with going back and forth and, the waiting game. So it was like, okay, at a certain point, I realized that 9 times out of 10, school's not going back in for a while. And even though we have a contract and, and they were legally bound to still support the business or, invoice to pay their invoices, it was just, no, I don't want to do that to them. I don't want to, even have to.
It speaks volumes about you. Really,
yeah,
it really does speak about your character.
It's and even in my business, the mission of it and serving my community is more important to me than the bottom line, and yes, I'm in business to make money, but I'm also in business to keep my customers. And after Rona is over, people are going to need services again. And I want them to be able to remember how Lexi Lilbug treated them when times were hard.
Right.
So
That's right.
At this point now, it's making sure that I've gone through all of the regulations when it comes to rideshare, passenger for hire, CDC. I need support in being able to hire and bring on people when schools do reopen, and taking this time right now to train my drivers to be able to get funding or get grants or donations for partitions to go in the cars, for the masks, for the, the sanitizing. All of those things are going to be very important, and another expense that's added on to the business that we were not even foreseeing to have happened. So right now it's just mainly about what is Lexi's Little Bug going to look like, and how are we going to continue to serve our customers at the level that we were serving, but also taking into consideration the safety aspect to make sure that nothing can happen, during a time to bring harm to them or risk, their safety while they're out transporting, because the mission of the company is to bring a peace of mind to our parents. And in bringing a peace of mind, they need to know that we're caring for their kids the same way that they would, at that level of care. So my need right now is definitely the PPE donations and, being able to get funding to equip our actual vehicle. So that's my big ask right now.
We're going to see. I know there's some people on. I know because I see your names in the participant list. There's some people on there that are going to be able to help you. So we will follow up with you on some of those things. Let me leave it with you and leap off of this question. One, your comments just speak so much about your character and your long-term vision to do right by people in your business. I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit. I've been to your, what's it called? I've spoken at it. What's it called? Spotlight?
Yes, an Evening Among Young Stars Awards.
Evening Among Young Stars. So Jen, you'll appreciate this. Erika hosts an event for kids in our community just to celebrate them, just to lift them up, just to support them. And I've been, and it is done at a high level.
And thank you for coming and attending and uplifting them. That your speech was like everyone. That's all people kept talking about afterwards. Who was that? Like, what was her name? Like, she did so good.
No. It was an honor to see how much you loved on them. Can you talk about your businesses, your like how you are dealing in their community? Jan, I know you employ folks across our community, and it is valuable. People pay their rent, people pay their mortgage, people are paying for their children to go to school. Right. Some folks are going to Spelman and Morehouse and UMBC off of the work you're doing.
Did Alicia freeze?
She did.
Alicia, come back. Well, I know they don't want any dead airspace until she comes back. I think she was going to where other things in the community. So for years, I've been a nonprofit manager. I've worked multiple jobs while running my business. And so currently I'm working at BTST Services, which has a nonprofit, BTST Cares, and I'm the executive director there. And so we also are in the thick of things as it relates to social justice and racial equality, and really building a after school enrichment program for young people, specifically in the middle school, called the B Theory. Our initial project is that we're going to be working with some young people in zip code 21217 to create a mural in that community with a local artist, Kid Balloon. And and so if there's anybody listening and you have young people that live, work, or go to school, when I say young, we're looking at ages 14 to 24, because we have a small grant to do it. And we would love to have you just apply. You can go to BTST BTST Cares, info at btstcares.org, and you can apply for this program. We're trying to do it before school starts, so, answer pretty quickly as it relates to being involved in that mural with BTST Cares.
And for me, during this time, since now that I have a lot more free time, I have been using the service and volunteering in the community. There's many organizations that I partner with in the Baltimore area to where I've offered my services to deliver food to families who were, in need, and being able to still use the company and connect with families, in the community as much as I can, even though the service itself, as far as children's transportation, is not up and fully running. And because it's with so much that is going on right now, everyone needs some type of support. And
That's right.
A lot of the time, transportation is one of the biggest barriers when it comes to equity and families or children, everybody being able to get to where they need to go, to get to their essentials. And most of the time, especially right now, it's all in transportation. And I've, decided to just, as much as I can, to pour back into the community in that way, and making sure that Lexi's Little Bug is able to, still support families and make the donations or using the services as far as donating rides in that capacity as well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I mean, I've even thought about that as well, especially working with food banks to see if there was a way that we could deliver meals. We'd be very interested in doing that if someone's listening, to volunteer some of our vehicles and drivers to do that. To donate and or do it just for the cost of gas for us to go and deliver meals if that's what's needed. We've also, in my nonprofit work, we've created or tried to create a list of over 100 free distribution sites in the Baltimore metropolitan region, so people can go on that website, btstservices.com, and get that list, because there are a lot of places, churches and food banks and just a lot of places now that are distributing free food. And a lot of times it just pops up, like it'll pop up in my email, like it's happening today at 12 o'clock. It's like, you try to get the information out, but we try to keep that information updated. I want to say the devil is a liar, because Alicia is going to come back on this
No, for sure. For sure. So can you tell me more information about your masterclass?
Yeah. So I have had a couple of coaches, kind of like informal, just trying to help me process, what's my next step? What direction should I take? How should I think things through? Because Erika, I'm sure you can appreciate that a lot of times we're so busy working in the business, we don't have time to work on the business. And actually, I coined a phrase like, I'm going to prosper in the pandemic, because it has given me time to really think about what other things I can do to pivot and scale my business. And I was listening to Allison Maslin, who runs this organization called the Pinnacle Group. And the Pinnacle Group helps businesses scale to, 7 and 8 figure incomes, gross revenues. And I remember that she had a 3-day webinar that was not that expensive. So I sat there for, 3 days and listened to this webinar. And it was live, and I called my best friend, and I know she's looking at me now and giving me strength. And I said to her, I really want to do this, but I can't afford it. I've got to pay tuition. My business is not generating any income. And she said to me, Jan, why do you think you can't afford it? I was like, I can't. I just can't figure it out right now. She said, but do you have to do it now? But they pressure you, like, sign up today or you won't get this good price. And so, and she said, you don't have to do it today. Just think about it. And that's what I did. And then I got the opportunity to, be engaged with them again. Yay, Alicia. I got the opportunity to be engaged with them again. And I realized that it was just fear. And I remember I was watching somebody talk about business one time. She said, scared money don't make no money. So
the devil is the liar, Jen.
That's right. Look, Alicia, I told the devil to get back.
Hey,
Come back up on
trying
here.
to take me out. Not today. Not
Right.
today. Not today.
No.
I heard everything y'all was saying. I heard everything you were saying.
Okay.
Talking about the
Right.
master. I'm telling you, they just tried to get me.
Yeah. They tried to get me earlier. They tried to get you,
They
but
tried to get you earlier, and that
we
wasn't
are
right.
notorious. Yes.
Can you talk about the Pinnacle Group? Someone just asked that question.
Yeah, so the Pinnacle Group is out of California, and they work with businesses to help you scale up to 7 and 8 figure incomes. And so, the other thing was, in addition to thinking like this wasn't the right, I'm in a pandemic, I can't, identify funds for that while I'm trying to identify funds for so many other things. And where I was going with it when I talked to my friend, and she was like, Jan, when are you going to invest in you? You've invested in everybody else. I have an older son, sent him through college. I got another son, he's in college. I employ people. I try to help them out as much as I can. When are you going to invest in you? And I just said, I cannot not do it. And so, I have mastermind classes with like-minded people. That's the other thing, is that you have to be around people who have similar goals. And it's okay to talk to your friends and your family and even your pastor if you want to. But if they've never built a 7 or 8 figure business, then you need to find somebody who has. Because I'd love to be mentored by Jeff Bezos to see how he built his business, or the lady who owns Hint Water. I can't remember her name right now, but you may be familiar with that brand, where she was just, she says in her commercial, she was just always drinking soda and all that. And she just decided she wasn't going to do that, but she didn't like the taste of water. So she started making her own water, and she put a little fruit in it. And now Hint is an international brand. And I think she's only been in business maybe less than 10 years. And she's competing with like the Cokes and the Pepsis of the world to have her product. And it's everywhere. It's in the gas stations. When you're in the gas station, that's not even where you start. You try to get in the grocery stores, but if it's in the gas station, then she really has done something. I'd love to be mentored by someone like her to help, me understand how she scaled that business in such a short period of time to be an international business. And so it is very important to find people who can give you advice and tutelage that are doing or have done what you're trying to do. And that's what Pinnacle Group does.
Absolutely. And, Jan, to your point, you talk about mentoring, and we do have a vision for another webinar series. I'm not going to spoil it on that. What you said was so right. One thing I know people at different points may think, I can't do the Pinnacle Group. I don't have it yet.
Right.
Go on YouTube. I'm being honest.
Let me tell you, I'm YouTube queen right now. And I was thinking, I didn't even know they had all this stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, you can get mentored by whatever you want. They're on there giving speeches,
they are,
and they will tell you the secrets. I'm just giving you that, folks on here, that advice. Let me ask you both this: what's next for your business? We talked about the pivot points, these amazing things. What's next, and how can people be a part of your success?
So
Erika,
for me, the what's next has changed because obviously, COVID has kind of started making me look at other ways that what else I can do in the transportation industry to allow the business to grow, and also be able to grow the company as a whole. So right now, I have a few things in the works. I haven't gotten the clearance on them yet, so I'm not going to quite be able to really talk about it just yet. But I am looking at different things and other avenues to be able to add to the Lexi's Little Bug umbrella, and what else I can do to keep growing after COVID, and how else I can impact my customers and families in the area, to be able to want to use the service. And also, just for me professionally during COVID, I had to take a step back and look at, what skills do I carry for me to be able to still financially support myself. And I've looked at other options, as because of me having so many years of experience in customer service and working, I've looked at even going back to work, pulling myself out of the business so that way, financial wise, so that way the company can stand on its own and I still be able to support myself and pour into the business to be able to grow. Because knowing that right now with COVID, getting funding for businesses was hard before COVID, and now when this is over, it's probably going to be even harder, as a newer company, and being able to gain support from the banks to be able to grow. So it's just also looking at all of the impact of how this could potentially stop my growth and how I can overcome that. So, I'm just looking at everything. I might be going back to work to, in my field, and be able to use those assets and learn even more of what I can do to bring to the company. So that way I'll have a better future for the service as well.
Mm-hmm. Jan, how about you?
Yeah, I was saying, Alicia, when you were gone, that I've always had.
I wasn't gone. I was right with you. I'm always with you.
Good. That I've always worked in nonprofit management. I've always, and when I say always, I mean for probably the last 25 years, worked in nonprofit management, and mentioned that I was at BTST Cares now. And so fortunately for me, I had another place where I was being paid. So that was very, very helpful. Thank you, Chris Simon and Jada McCray. And that was very, very helpful to me. And so I, will continue to work in that space. But fortunately for us, we transport for a private school, and they actually are opening in September, which actually surprised me. When I got the email saying they were going to open in September, I mean, they're going to phase in grades and all that kind of stuff. But it was very, I was very happy to hear. And, and I'm going to work with them. Similar to what Erika was saying, schools are a different animal. And you do have to be overly, I think, compensating. We only transport 10 or 11 students, and so it's not like a school bus full of students. So the parents know me, I know them, they have issues, they know they can come to me, I'm addressing the issues. That's the other thing, immediacy, like not waiting to address an issue, that makes people feel important. And when the pandemic hit, and these people also were on contract, and most of them had already paid for the school year, and they stopped school in March. And so when I talked to the school about this coming school year, they actually, I talked to them, and they said, well, Jan, what do you think about giving some consideration for the months we didn't travel last school year? And I was thinking to myself, darn, I need all that money. But I knew that the relationship was more important. And I made an arrangement with them that I would not charge them for the first month of this school year because of it wasn't my fault that it was a pandemic, but it wasn't theirs either. And so, and I value the relationship. And I couldn't believe that the principal sent me, beautiful piece that I actually should put on my website to say how, touched she was that I would do that because I didn't have to. But, I did explain to her how much I value the relationship. The other thing for us is that we've been trying to, trying to pivot and see what else we can do. So I don't know how many people know, but the National Action Network, which is run by Reverend Al Sharpton, is going to have a big march on Washington on August 28th in Washington, D.C. So we're going to run shuttles from the Baltimore area to the March on Washington. We have a site up where people can buy tickets. We're hoping that people will take advantage of that. If you're not interested per se in buying a ticket on our shuttles, you can also rent our vehicle for your private group. And I think you had it up earlier. We have information on our Instagram. And one of my friends is gonna laugh when I say this. The link is in the bio of the Instagram, because one time he said that to me and I was like, what bio? I don't understand that. But I've learned a whole lot this pandemic season. The link is in the bio, and we're at Ride Higher Ground. And so if you go there, you'll see the information about the shuttles to the March on Washington. And so for us, just working and identifying opportunities. We see that the state has been putting out some contracts, some RFPs. We're looking at those to apply for those. And that's another whole conversation, Alicia, with regard to having contracts with the state and local government. So when you
No,
do that,
you know what we're gonna do? You know what? The stuff y'all talk about, we put in another program. We bring it back because government contracting is an area where small businesses can really capture, to your point, you know, can do extremely, extremely well and can weather the storm because the state is always open for business.
Yep.
It's always open for business, even if other things aren't. We have 5 minutes, so I'm gonna get one last question in.
okay.
And then I want to leave enough time for everybody to understand how to get connected to you. Because I do believe the reason why I got knocked off was because Oprah joined and Jeff Bezos joined. So that, you know, they try to mess up our flow, but they can't mess us up. Can't mess us up. So let me ask you this. And I saw this question before I got knocked out. So I wanted to ask it. And someone wrote, and I'm not even going to, I know the name, but I'm not going to mention the name. And the person said, this time for small businesses has been discouraging at times. What's the word that you could give them to stay encouraged?
A word or just?
No, not a word.
To stay motivated, I would say to stay in your field and keep researching and set. I was talking to one of my advisors, and he was just telling me that even though the service cannot really be used right now, what to start still setting goals, because that was one of the things that impacted me in the beginning, was because I'm so used to moving, I'm so used to working, I'm so used to getting things done. And when you don't have a vision, and I'm a visionary, when I don't have a vision, it took a hit to myself and my mental wealth. So I started with just going to my dry erase board and just starting to write down every day what I thought of what I wanted my company to look like after COVID, because it starts with a plan. And then once I started with one thing, then it was like, okay, I got that done. And then when you just start with one step, all the rest of the steps will come. So then all these little ideas and things that I thought about started to come to mind. And now I feel motivated every day. You know, now I have a purpose to why I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm not just sitting still. And that will probably be the biggest thing, is still do not sit still. Come up with a plan of what you want your business to look like even afterwards, and start working towards that. And that would be my biggest takeaway, is just not sitting still work towards your goals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good word. Jan?
Yeah. I would actually like to piggyback off of Erika in relationship to vision. You know, the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge, but also that without a vision, people perish. And so the vision piece is very important. Was talking to a friend of mine this morning who was encouraging me for this webinar, and she said she was listening to Steve Harvey, and he was talking about vision. And he said, don't y'all know that even Oprah has a vision board and she's a billionaire? We need to write it down. We need to draw it out, even if it's stick people, about what it is we want for our businesses. We need to also invest in ourselves. Alicia, you hit the nail on the head for me. I was joking, but I was serious. My son said, you listening to another YouTube video? I'm telling you.
Yes, I'm telling you.
On Sundays, because my husband goes play golf on Sundays. On Sundays, after I listen to my church services, I go on YouTube. And I'm telling you, I have learned so much on YouTube. You know, different ways. And that whole piece about wrapping my vans, it was when somebody was doing something about, you know, the 20 best side hustles, you know, that kind of thing. Or there were loads of people on that were talking about PPP and EIDL loans. And, you know, and when I was getting discouraged about not hearing from them, this one guy that I listened to, who I recommend highly, he said,
oh, give his name.
Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin on YouTube. JJ the CPA on YouTube, and Jamie Troll, who is the something CFO, virtual CFO, I think it is. And I was listening to them every day. And they put up videos every day. And he said, if you check to see if your credit's been pulled. And if your credit's been pulled, then you're about to get your EIDL grant. And I was thinking, wow. And I'm telling you, the next day I got a Credit Karma alert or something saying that my credit had been, I was like, oh my God, me, Kevin was right.
Wow. Wow.
I'm saying you have to invest in yourself. Like people, I started out the same way. I'm not judging, binge watching, Netflix and all. No. I am listening to the YouTube. I'm listening to Bloomberg Radio. I'm listening to MSNBC. I want to shout out to Deborah Owens in the Wealthy You community, because I've joined that too, because she's also
Deborah Owens, yeah, amazing.
Understand how to have a wealthy woman mindset. And the battlefield is the mind. And so once you start changing the way you think about things, then you'll see things in your life change. So invest in yourself and definitely write down your vision.
Excellent, excellent. Both of you. I think everyone knows why I was so excited for this Entrepreneurship Matters. You both are a blessing to our community. We are praying for you. We are rooting for you. More importantly, we are going to support you. Of course, this is not the one, but this is a part of our support. We want to lift you up to others so that they can know how to. I want to give you some of the comments that people have been writing. You both are an inspiration. I'm sure you're going to have many people reach out to you to see how they can support you and figuring out how they can work alongside you. Why don't, in the last couple minutes, and I know we're a minute over, but that's okay because I got knocked out, so we're getting more time.
Right.
Jen, you tell us your Instagram, your Twitter, all your channels, and how people can reach you.
Right. So people can reach us. Instagram is at Ride Higher Ground, and the Facebook is at Higher Ground Transportation. And then they can just email us at info@ridehigherground.com. And we'd love to have you go on down to the March on Washington celebration with us on August 28th.
Yes, yes. Someone wrote, "This is amazing. You're speaking to my soul." That is beautiful. Erika?
So you can contact Lexi Zilberg at www.lexizilberg.org. You can email at info@lexizilberg. And also you can search on Facebook and Instagram at Lexi Zilberg. So we're connected all on most platforms. And if there's any questions, if you have any families who are in need as far as transportation to summer camps, daycares, any type of need of the parent, because I know some parents are going back to work. So definitely reach out and refer the company so that way we'll be able to support.
Excellent, excellent. Let me give a couple of shout outs for next week. And so people can note to tune in and give shout outs to our sponsors and our supporters. Entrepreneurship Matters next week is on workforce development companies. It's a new one. We have not repeated an industry yet. We're going to have Lisa Phillips, founder of Celebrate Us, and Marty Swartz, founder of Vehicles for Change. You do not want to miss this one. Please follow us on @JHConnects on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Email comments. Also, I know a number of you have been emailing me. If you want to be featured, a great business that should be featured, email us at jhconnects, that's plural, connects, @jhu.edu. Let me thank all of our partners: Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Health System, Hopkins Local, the Mayor's Office of Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses, and the Warnock Foundation. Thank you both.
Thank you.
This concludes this webinar. Have a great day, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.